Hello and welcome to Strengthjournal Ep.18. Today I'm sharing with you one of my latest upper body workouts, and we're going to try a slightly new format today. So in the past Strengthjournal videos I basically just always talked about my training and what I did in the workout, but I kind of want to try something new because there's only so much that I can say about my own training, as my training doesn't change week to week or even month to month. My idea or my plan is to dedicate one topic to each video and just talk about that and share my thoughts with you. I don't know how well this is gonna work, but I just wanna try it, and you can let me know in the comment section if you like this format idea or if you don't like it. So the format is gonna be kind of like a video essay / podcast format, just with my training footage in the background. And I just wanna share my own thoughts on certain ideas, and feel free to share your own opinion down in the comment section. And you can disagree, agree with me, or even add some own thoughts if you want to do that. So let's start with the first topic of this new format, which is gonna be, can you build muscle with calisthenics? This question is probably one of the most popular questions in the calisthenics realm and probably just in the general fitness realm. So the question is basically based on, do you need a gym to build muscle / weights or machines to build muscle? Or is it enough to just train with your own body weight as resistance? And before I start to dive deeper into this topic, I just want to say, yeah, I think you can build muscle with calisthenics. I'm obviously a little biased because I mainly train calisthenics, but for me personally, I make great results with it muscle building wise, and there are plenty of other people who did so as well. If you look at people who are very strong at calisthenics, they are usually always pretty jacked and look similar to natural bodybuilders. But I also want to add that there are differences in how much muscle you can build with calisthenics depending on what kind of calisthenics you do. If you want to build muscle, the most important thing is to choose exercises that put tension on your muscles, train close to failure or to failure, and progressively overload over time, which just means making your training more difficult by adding reps, sets, more intensity, a more difficult progression, more weight, etc. So there are a lot of things that you can do to progressively overload. And we can definitely do all of these things with calisthenics. So a push-up or a dip is just as good at building your chest as a bench press. A pull-up or a inverted row is just as good at building your back compared to a machine row, barbell row, dumbbell row, or a lat pull down and any variation of that. Because the movement patterns are pretty much the same. So a push-up is a horizontal press, a bench press is a horizontal press, both target the chest. And if you look at the movement in general, they are pretty much similar or even the same. The only difference is that the bench press is an open chain movement, which means that our hands are moving, and with the push-up, our body is moving and our hands are fixed. So if we apply hypertrophy principles to these bodyweight exercises now, we can build muscle with them. We need to train with sufficient intensity, which means picking a exercise variation or a heavy enough load so we can stay in the 5 to 30 rep range. In the calisthenics world, that could basically just mean to either pick a more difficult or easier progression or regression of the exercise, or just adding load, like in weighted calisthenics, through a weight belt, backpack, weighted vest, etc. We need to train those movements close to failure or to failure and progressively overload them over time, which means either adding a rep to your push-up, adding more sets, slowing down the tempo, doing a more difficult variation. For example, something like an archer push-up, so going unilateral instead of bilateral, or just simply looking at improving your technique at the push-up or pull-up. What is also important for hypertrophy is technique. If I would have to choose the 3 most important factors for a good hypertrophy technique, I would say that they are, for one, using a full range of motion, especially making sure that you're not skipping the stretch position of the muscle. The second one would be making sure that you're not going too slow or too fast during your repetition. And the last one would be finding a technique which feels good for you and which doesn't hurt your joints. Because if a technique feels weird or it hurts, it will be hard to follow all the other training principles which are important for hypertrophy. And if you look at what I just said, that's basically all the same things that you have to do with free weights or machines or cables as well. So the training principles for getting strong and jacked with calisthenics are pretty much the same compared to free weights. The biggest difference between calisthenics and free weights is that in the calisthenics world we also got skill-based moves like planche, front lever, handstands, handstand push-ups, etc. And as I said before, that depending on what kind of calisthenics training style you choose, you will also get different outcomes when it comes to hypertrophy. And I would argue that a lot of the calisthenic skills are not really a good way to gain muscle. I'm referring to those movements which are either isometric holds or are very coordination and balance based. These exercises are not ideal for muscle building because they basically fail at a very basic muscle building principle, which is putting enough tension on a muscle group and allowing to train that muscle group to failure. With a lot of these skill-based exercises, you will find that typically not the failure of one muscle group is becoming a limiting factor, but rather the failure of a combination of a lot of different variables. So to give you an example, in the freestanding handstand push-up, you will probably not be able to do more reps, not because your shoulders are giving up, but rather your coordination is failing, your technique is failing, or your balance is failing. And we can simply see that if we compare the freestanding handstand push-up to the wall handstand push-up. In both of these movements, we have to press our body weight overhead, and the percentage that we have to press is pretty similar or even the same. But we can do a lot more reps on the wall compared to freestanding, because with the wall, we don't have to worry about balance, and we can focus more on pushing our shoulders close to failure. And with isometric holds like the planche or front lever, the problem is that they are isometric holds, and isometric holds don't seem to be as good for hypertrophy compared to full range of motion exercises. So does that mean that calisthenic skills like planche, front lever, handstand push-up are bad for hypertrophy overall? I don't think so. They still build muscle, and if you look at some of the strongest skill athletes in the calisthenics world, they are usually also pretty jacked and pretty strong. But I would definitely say, in my own personal experience, that they are inferior for muscle building compared to other exercises, which are basically just the body weight variation of some free weight exercises. So in my opinion, the best exercises for muscle building with calisthenics are just push-up, dip, pull-up, row, wall handstand push-up or pike push-ups. And I would just focus on getting strong at those. And if you get strong at those, you will become pretty strong and pretty jacked. I would also add in some isolation exercises for your arms, side delts, rear delts, etc. So you could either use your body weight, and for that I would recommend you get some gymnastic rings, but then you can do some ring curls, ring extensions, ring face pulls, etc. Or you could just add in some free weight exercises with dumbbells, cables, machines, and just do your standard dumbbell curls, dumbbell extensions, push downs, etc. If you do these exercises properly and you follow basic training principles for hypertrophy and strength building, I don't really see why you would not be able to build muscle with calisthenics. And there are a lot of examples in the calisthenics space or in the fitness space in general where people use these bodyweight exercises and build great physiques. You will notice that I didn't talk about lower body training up till now, and I would like to do that in a different video because I think that lower body training in the calisthenics world is a more different topic compared to upper body training. So I'd like to address that one in a different video. Maybe when I share one of my lower body workouts. Some people might come at this question from a perspective of what is better for muscle building, calisthenics or free weights. And my opinion on that is that it really doesn't matter. I would look at exercise selection rather from a perspective of, okay, which exercise fits my goals and what exercises are available to me. I think this is a way more fun and also effective way to train compared to just being biased to one training approach and disregarding any other training style or exercises. In the end, hypertrophy in general is also not really specific, so there's a whole lot of ways to build muscle. So you have the possibility or the luck to be able to choose from a wide variety of movements to get the job done. So instead of thinking what is the best way to build muscle, what is the most optimal way to build muscle, just think of what builds muscle and what is available to me and what do I like to do in my training. And then just go ahead, pick your exercise that you like and just get strong at them, and you will probably get pretty good results. Personally, I would call my training, if I had to name it, calisthenics bodybuilding, which means that I'm combining both calisthenics skills training, like training for the handstand, freestanding handstand push-up, and I'm also combining that with just weighted calisthenics or just the calisthenics basic exercise, which I named before. So I'm just trying to get strong at weighted dip, weighted pull-up, weighted push-up, etc. And I'm also adding in some isolation, and for those I pretty much use mostly weights, so dumbbells. I'm also adding in mobility work and some cardio on the side just for longevity, but also improving my training performance in general. And that works pretty well for me. Does this mean that this approach is the best for everyone? No, absolutely not. Everyone is different, everyone has different training goals, and that's absolutely fine. Find what you like and then just get good at that. That's basically how training works. So my final conclusion on the question where you can build muscle with calisthenics is absolutely yes. I would even go so far to say that, at least upper body wise, you can just build as great of a physique as a natural bodybuilder. And yeah, you just have to follow basic training principles for getting strong and building muscle and pick the right exercises for your goals. That was my take on this topic, and feel free to share your own opinion down below in the comment section. And I'd really like to know what your opinion is and what your own experiences are with calisthenics and muscle building. That was Strengthjournal episode 18. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time. Much love and see you on level 100.